If you regularly spend sleepless nights wondering about flea biology, this 3-part video series is for you. But you may want to start with part 1. In case you've seen it already, stay here and witness the second part of the amazing world of fleas, and how the hell to kill them for good.
I love you. I know.
The process of pupation happens by the larva spinning a sticky cocoon around itself and covering it with hair, dust and dirt particles. This makes the casing blend into the environment quite well, but appear rather flamboyant in the Vienna Boys choir. Inside this protective shell, the larva slowly transforms into an adult flea, which at room temperature usually takes 2 to 3 weeks. The pupa is the toughest of all of the stages of flea development. It's most resistant to desiccation and doesn't require any food for a long time. The cocoon was also thought to be chemical proof, but as it turns out this isn't quite true.
It's just a flesh wound.
We just underestimated the protective power of the carpet matrix which usually surrounds the pupa. After the flea has fully developed, it can and oftentimes will remain encased in the pupa in a dormant state with minimal metabolic activity. Why does it do that? For the same reason you don't get out of bed at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Why the hell would you? If the flea leaves the casing and there are no hosts around, what's it going to do? Mongolian throat singing until it starves to death? Its mouthparts cannot consume solid food anymore.
I've had enough flea shit already, thank you.
It needs blood. Out of the cocoon, the flea cannot live longer than a few weeks without a blood meal, but if it remains inside, sleeping, it can go on for months or even a year. So how does it pick the right time to emerge?
According to my calculations, the best time to leave the cocoon is Albert Einstein's left foot, approximately.
Well, fleas are not Oxford graduates. The mature pupa is stimulated mostly by vibration and increased air carbon dioxide concentration as signals of a nearby host. Direct pressure and rising temperatures also help. As you can imagine, these are not the most foolproof ways to detect a host, so mistakes are made frequently. People getting bitten by cat and dog fleas usually happens when the parasites leave their cocoons, as they cannot differentiate between a dog and a person walking by. The difference becomes obvious to them only when they take their first bite.
What the f***?
But hungry fleas are not that picky.
Tastes like fish armpit. Oh well.
If they don't land on the right host at their first attempt, they feed once or twice and leave shortly thereafter. An adult flea, if fed before, cannot last longer than 4 days between meals, limiting its time to find a new host. In case the gods favor them and they come across a matching host, they will start feeding within 5 minutes of arrival. Have you ever seen a hot dog eating contest where people choke on 60 hot dogs in under 10 minutes to win prizes such as atherosclerosis and fatty liver disease? Well, that's nothing compared to what a flea can do. It's able to suck 15 times its own body weight in blood per day. Most of the blood passes through the parasite undigested and becomes larva food, but there's usually no shortage. Under these conditions, an adult flea will never purposefully leave its host. It can, of course, be scratched off, licked off, eaten, or paid a lot of money to leave, and it can occasionally climb over onto another host by accident if it's within reach. As it might be obvious by now, plenty of things can go south for a flea during its lifetime. No sane insurance agent would ever make a deal with a flea. No life insurance for you. Sorry. Eggs, larvae and pupae are in constant danger of environmental effects and predators, even of members of their own species. And adult fleas struggle with hatching at the right time, finding the correct host, and staying on it till reproduction. This is why the flea population resembles a pyramid. There are plenty of eggs, larvae and pupae lying around, but only a few adults alive and kicking that have made it through all the stages of development. Noticing flea infestation is simple, but it may elude you because not all cases show obvious symptoms. Itching and scratching are logical signs, but their severity is dependent on individual sensitivity and the amount of parasites present. Bite marks appear as small red dots, but so does bent spoon allergy, not a highly specific symptom if you ask me. If you manage to spot a flea, that's a definitive diagnosis, but fleas are good at playing hide and seek, especially in thick, dark fur, huh? No matter how much of a clumsy, slow-handed and cross-eyed loser you may be, what never runs away from you is flea crap. It tends to accumulate at the root of the hairs, resembling finely ground coffee but of darker color. Good places to look for flea dirt are along the spine, especially near the tail and between shoulder blades, but it may be found anywhere on the body. It's not attached to the surface, so together with flea eggs falling off, it turns the host into a living salt and pepper shaker, the signs of which can often be seen on your pet's bedding. But doctor, you may say, I always roll my dog into actual salt and pepper, how can I tell the difference now? I'm glad you asked, I get this question a lot. Flea dirt is half-digested blood and as such can at least partially dissolve in water. If you sprinkle some flea dirt on a white wet sheet of paper, or cotton ball, toilet paper, grandmother's wedding dress, flea poop will create a reddish-brown stain around itself. If you notice the same thing on the soles of your socks when walking around in your home, it's time to check your furry friend for fleas.
I only have a goldfish.
I'm home! There's a difference between flea infestation and shit. No, not this close, not this close! Hundreds or thousands of fleas on the same host can lead to severe problems. The animal seems constantly nervous, it scratches and bites itself a lot, the hair falls out, the skin becomes inflamed and painful, and secondary bacterial infections can occur. And sometimes, just to fuck with us, none of these signs appear. But if this is what your pet looks like despite having only a handful of fleas, chances are it's suffering from flea allergy dermatitis. The allergic animal responds to the saliva of fleas with extreme inflammation and itch, even if there are only a few parasites present. Small puppies or kittens with a high flea burden may develop a life-threatening condition known as flea anemia, in which they cannot keep up with the blood loss, their blood becoming more and more dilute, until eventually In addition to all this, fleas may carry pathogens of other diseases.
Pull yourself together, Franklin. We're not there yet.
The double pore tapeworm is a common intestinal parasite, the final hosts of which include cats, dogs, and people as well. You can get it by eating infected fleas, which sounds like a bizarre hazing ritual, but animals do it a lot while grooming. Cat scratch fever is a disease that's mostly asymptomatic in cats, but can be serious in dogs and humans. The bite of infected fleas and pets can spread the contagion, just like infectious flea dirt if rubbed into open wounds, which can happen easily during your daily cat scratch routine. Who's a good boy? Feline hemotropic mycoplasmosis is a disease of cats acquired from infected fleas, in which red blood cells are lost in masses due to tiny bacteria invading their insides. It can cause severe anemia, jaundice, and death. And bad mood. Other diseases carried by fleas are less significant, but flea-borne spotted fever and murine typhus should probably be mentioned. The plague still pops up now and then around the world to give us a good scare, but it uses overwhelmingly rodent fleas as transport. The cat and the dog flea really suck at being carriers of the plague. So you can relax now. It might be a hard thing to admit that your pet and home are infested with fleas. After all, fleas don't go to clean places, right? Wrong. So don't be ashamed, it can happen to anyone. Nobody is going to laugh at you. The question is, what are you going to do about it? If you're not sure, check out part 3 of The Amazing World of Fleas. The technical information in this video was fact-checked by Professor Michael Dryden of Kansas State University, who goes by the nickname Dr. Flea. So, obviously, he's the best. I thank him very much as I thank Ceva for its support. If you've made it this far, why not like, comment or subscribe, or check out my other videos. I know it would make at least one of us happy.